Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Come on now, this is the Eternal Con. Y'all better act like you know us here. All right. We have an exciting panel for you guys today. My name is Demetrius, Angelo. I'm the founder and executive producer of the Urban Action Showcase and Expo, where we celebrate diversity and honor the past, present, and future within the action genre. Now today we have a panel called The Evolution of Martial Arts in Action, where we're going to discuss the impact of martial arts within the action genre. Now when I mention names such as characters such as Toad, Darth Maul, Snake Eyes, Bruce Leroy, Rocky the Red Ranger, we're talking about some of the greatest action heroes and icons of our era. But before I introduce our distinguished guests, we have just a quick reminder for you. Without further ado, let me get a rowdy Eternal Con welcome for Ray Park, Taimak, and Steve Cardenas.
It's a nice intro.
Well, thank you.
Really good, man.
We are truly honored to have these gentlemen with us today to discuss martial arts and action films. All right, guys. Now, this is going to be interactive, okay? So feel free to raise your hand. We'll try to get some questions in. But many of us know that the martial arts, you can arguably say, is the mother of the action genre. From the time of the Peking Opera, Shaw Brothers, Golden Harvest, TV shows like Billy Jack, The Green Hornet. The martial arts has so greatly influenced action as we know today. In fact, I don't know any action that's action without it, basically. So my first question to everyone is martial arts, your background in the martial arts, what influenced you? You guys can go one at a time.
Go ahead, man.
For me, it was Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. You know, that's what really got me into it. Martial art or action movies were the only thing I knew. That was like my other lessons or other classes. You know, apart from actually doing or practicing martial arts, I just love watching Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Chuck Norris, anything to do with ninjas, action, Power Rangers, anything to do with martial arts I was watching. So that's what I grew up with, and now I'm able to play and be a big kid with it as well.
Yeah, anytime you ask the martial artists, especially if they're 35 and up, they're always going to say Bruce Lee. So, yeah, Bruce Lee, and all the Shaw Brothers films, and my man, please. There you go.
Bruce Lee on my phone.
Jim Kelly, all these, I miss all of that, we'd like to see more of that, more of us, so.
Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah. All right, yeah, thanks for coming out. So my influences were, well, obviously, Bruce Lee, of course, yeah, but, as a young kid, I used to get bullied a lot, a lot. I had these kids that waited for me after school, like, every day. And so I used to watch The Karate Kid. And when I watched The Karate Kid, I used to, just dream that I could, learn karate and kick these guys' asses, you know what I mean? Because I used to beat me up so bad. So that was I had a rough childhood. So definitely watching that. And the other thing I used to watch was right here, man, The Last Dragon. I used to watch it all the time, man. Every day I used to watch it. I used to get excited when the TriStar logo would come up, and you'd see the horse coming through. I'm like, oh, the movie's about to start, man. It's so cool. So anyway, yeah, so seriously, I used to watch this guy all the time, so I'm really geeking out right now, so it's pretty cool. And
geeking out too, with you guys.
So, so that influences for me definitely was The Karate Kid. Bruce Lee. I used to watch the Kung Fu Theater all the time on Saturday mornings, so that was a lot of fun. And I used to believe I was a ninja. I had a ninja costume, and I used to do flips in my backyard and just wish that I could take karate so bad, Yeah. And so finally, when I moved away, and when I was 12, I moved with my dad, and he got me in a Taekwondo program. And so that's how I got my start. And then from there, I, been doing it for quite a while, and then I was able to audition and get the part on the show. So anyway, yeah, that's how I kind of got my start.
Can I ask a quick question, Demetrius?
Sure.
How many of you guys are fans of those older movies? Raise your hand. Oh, so quite a few of you. And some of you guys are fans of the newer things coming out?
Yeah.
Some of you guys?
Yeah.
Would you say that there was more happening back then or more with martial arts happening now?
More happening back then.
Back then, okay. That's what I thought.
All right. So now since you guys went on that road, Saturday afternoon, Kung Fu Theater. Mm-hmm. Now, when you finally got the opportunity, you was like, Daddy, for me, it's me jumping on the bed. Daddy, I want to do that. So when Daddy finally brought you to do that, there was a big difference between movie Kung Fu, what you saw on the screen, and what you had to do in class. So let's talk about the style that you started off with first, and was there a culture shock when you got there because you don't get to do the flying kicks and the flips and stuff that you got to see on screen, right?
Funny enough, my first class was like a Kung Fu movie. For me, it's 7 years old because, you're right, it changed, but I was just soaking everything in, and my first teacher was Dave Lee, who ended up, teaching doubling for Batman. And he was my first instructor. He did a Shaolin Kung Fu style, and I went along, and everyone had their top off and had six packs and Chinese, and I got to spar with two men for the first time. So I was like, yeah, Dad, this is great. This is like a Kung Fu movie. But I later went on to train with my other, because we relocated in London, and it was hard to find, because all I wanted to do was Kung Fu because of films. And there weren't a lot of Kung Fu schools, a lot of martial arts schools at the time in London. And if they were either on the other side of London, and it would have been 3 hours. My parents didn't have a car, so it would have been 3 hours by tube or by bus, and it got expensive, and to travel there, and it was late. It was always after work, at 8 o'clock. So we found a place, and that was Qingwu, Northern Shaolin, and that's where I've been doing that ever since I was like 8. And that was different, very much different, like from what you see in movies. But the other place was because I think the instructor was into entertainment as well, and film and TV at the time in the UK. I learned a lot, and I still remember those forms that I practiced for those few months that I was at my first class. So it was like a Kung Fu movie to me as a little boy, because people were doing backflips and somersaults and they were able to do it on wooden floors.
And that was wushu they were doing?
No, they were doing a Nampang, like a different style of Kung Fu.
Okay.
There were certain instructors who were able to do it. But then I got into wushu later on because I wanted to get into films. Because one of my senior instructors said, well, if you're really serious about getting into movies, like, because I wanted to get into stunts, I wanted to do all the action, I wanted to do all the martial arts. He said, we got to do wushu because Jackie Chan only takes guys on to do wushu. I'm like, what's wushu? And then I see some guys jumping around, kicking their hands and feet and flipping and a bit like breakdancing. Yeah. And I was, well, I used to do a little breaking, so I went to wushu and fell in love with it. It was a tough thing to do, but I loved it. So that's not to take up the microphone, but yeah, I'm grateful for those fantasy martial art movies as a kid. So excellent.
Yeah, my father was best friends with a martial arts champion named Grandmaster Gerald Orange, and he came from a group of martial artists that he trained with Grandmaster Peter Urban, who was a real tough military guy that learned martial arts in Japan and brought it over to the States back in those days, in the 50s and 60s. Most of the martial arts, there wasn't a lot of it in America, happened because military men would go and be stationed in Japan or Okinawa or that's Japan, different parts of Asia, and they come back and they teach in New York. So I was a little kid. I just remember doing some katas. I was like 6 years old. My brother was only 8, and then we actually moved to London, Chelsea, and I picked up a little there, but I wasn't really motivated by it as much as when I saw Bruce Lee in a commercial. And then, and also my brother used to beat me up a lot. So that started happening. So when I came back to the States, we were in Europe for a few years. When we came back to the States, I told my father I want to continue training, and he goes, okay. And I said, I saw a community center in Manhattan called The Door, and there was an Aikido class, and I joined, and I enjoyed it. I really liked the instructor a lot, but I never really thought this was Bruce Lee's style. I was doing these wrist locks and throws and all the Aikido moves, which was timing and all that. It was a little too cerebral for me. I wanted to get busy, So I actually found a Taekwondo school in Richard Chun in Manhattan, and I joined up, and I got fully invested in it because I was able to throw high kicks and compete in Taekwondo, and because I grew up playing soccer, I think I kicked a little hard, so I started getting disqualified for kicking kids a little too hard, and then I realized maybe kickboxing's for me, so I started kickboxing, and I won a New York championship, and then right afterwards is when I got the last dragon.
Well, I started out, when I moved away from the kids that were bullying me and I went to go live with my dad, there was a mall right by my house, and inside the mall there was a Taekwondo studio there. And I used to look in the window and just wish I could take karate, but we grew up poor, so couldn't afford the classes. So I finally just one day walked into the place and I said, hey, listen, I was 12 years old, and I said, I don't have the money to pay for karate, but I really want to learn, so would you let me clean up your school, clean the windows, mop the floors, clean the bathroom and stuff like that. I thought sure he was going to say no, but he was like, all right, dude, I'll give you a chance. And so anyway, that was my instructor, Master Dennis Black, and he studied under Grandmaster Jun Rhee in Taekwondo. So that's kind of where my roots are. And so I just went every single day. I'd clean up the school, and then I'd go and take my classes. And in the beginning, it wasn't like I watched in the movies, because you had to learn everything real basic, all the basic stances and stuff. But our school was really put an emphasis on forms. We do a lot of forms and kata competitions and stuff. So very quickly, we learned how to do real flashy moves and things like that because, we wanted us competing and getting trophies for the academy doing forms competitions. So that's kind of how I started learning about doing fight scenes and fight choreography and stuff like that, because we used to do demos all the time, at the mall and stuff. to get people to come in. And we would do these, you know, fight choreographed scenes. So that's kind of how I learned how to do fight scenes, and it was kind of helped me on the show as well. So that's kind of how I got my start, was American Taekwondo under June Rhee.
Wonderful. Now, for the lay person, the martial arts encompasses several styles. You have the karate styles, which actually originate in Okinawa, then come into Japan. You have the gung fu or the kung fu, which originate in China. Then you have the judo, jiu-jitsu, aikido styles, which come out of Japan. You have Filipino styles, such as arnis, arnis de mano, kali. You have Indonesian styles. You have pentuk silat. There's so many different nationalities that have styles. The styles that he was referring to, the Taekwondo that comes out of Korea. You have the Taekwondo, you got the Tang Sudo, you have the Harangdo, which is more like you have the Hapkido. So I know a lot of people just see kicks and punches, but there's actually a lot of technique, a lot of form, a lot of mathematics behind all of these styles. And that brings me to my next question. When you first got on your set the first time and you had to adapt your true martial arts skills to the film, tell me about that experience. Whoever wants to go first.
My first movie, Apprenticeship, was my Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and I spent a lot of time cleaning the crash pads, making tea, and packing boxes. So my first, but I was working with a bunch of stunt guys who were martial arts as well, like Taekwondo and Wushu, all different styles. So I felt I was in a good family at the time, and they were very. I think with the Wushu style, with the forms and the patterns that we do, were very showy for entertainment purposes. That had traditional background, but they were more for everyone to see around it. Can you turn off your phone, sir, please? No, Joe. They were more for everyone. It was more for everyone to see around the stadium. So everything was always telegraphed and very showy, and I think that helped in movie fighting. And then plus my instructor was also, he was traditional background, he also did Taekwondo, competed from Malaysia. And I wasn't aware that we did Taekwondo kicks. But he was more of a traditional Taekwondo, one kick, knockout, take out, you know, that was that type. It wasn't a lot of the tip-tap, which I wanted to do. You know, I really wanted to learn. And then we did a lot of the Kung Fu forms, so it was a good balance. And it was only when I was, later on when I got into Wushu, I realized the kicks we were doing were different, going to competitions and seeing how the styles go, wait a minute, that's similar. And again, this was before internet, and you only had Inside Kung Fu magazine or Fighters magazine or Karate magazine, and sometimes you'd have to get them imported. There weren't a lot, so I was always 2 months behind and everything was going on. And I was really into Superfoot, Bill Wallace at the time, and all of the guys that would do all the showy kicks. Always wish I could do it, you know? And so the guys helped me out on Mortal Kombat, and so it was very Wushu orientated fighting, so I was able to do it because we did a lot of the fight patterns for show, for demonstrations. And it was only when I was on Star Wars and we were using the lightsaber, and of course we did weapons demonstrations, which is different in Kung Fu or Wushu. And so you had to change a little bit for camera angles and what worked for camera. So my education on what it took to make it work for camera, because I wasn't behind camera, I was always in the mix and doing it. And what felt good to me was, okay, it must have been good because it was easy, it felt good, everyone was good. So it was over the years I've learned what looks, you know, you look at Kung Fu movies and see what works for camera, and so things change, and I get a better understanding how it works, and things do change a little bit for camera, you know. But Wushu's a very out there sort of over the, you know, not over the top. It's very showy, you know. Yeah. So it does, you know, it helps. It has helped me in my movie career.
Yeah. Trying to keep with all that's said, and then the question was around how do you change up? Yeah, how do you adjust your style? You know, for me, when I did The Last Dragon, it was the first acting project. I did some school plays that I ever did, and I, you know, played the lead character in the film. So everybody on the project, as far as director and producers, they were all. I was 19, and so they knew that they just grabbed me off the street and they said, okay. He's the star of the film. We've got to make sure that he can do this. So they were under a lot of pressure to make sure that I was able to carry the entire film. So when I got the role, I was basically fulfilling a dream for myself as a kid, wanting to be the Black Bruce Lee. So I ended up fulfilling that dream, but with that dream came, okay, now I'm going to do all these amazing fight scenes. But the producers and directors, they were less interested in that, and they wanted to know how well I had chemistry with the female in the film, how well I can act with these other crazy characters running around the film. So, you know, they had an acting coach on set, and it was, at first, it was a little frustrating because I was always looking for the next fight scene.
Right.
And they were trying to get me to focus on the acting. So, because the martial arts just came, you know, I was doing it all my life, and they had Ernie Reyes Sr., who was always, who had an amazing West Coast demo team, a Taekwondo style of martial arts, showing all over the country, and his son starred in The Last Dragon as well, Ernie Reyes Jr. So there were a lot of, Ron Van Cleef, there was a lot of well-accomplished martial artists that had experience in action. So that was the thing with me. They wanted me to focus on the acting. So that martial arts was easy for that.
Yeah, it was the exact opposite for me, actually, because they didn't really care about the acting. They wanted the action, you know, so it was different, you know. Yeah, because I was definitely not an actor, you know. I had never done any acting. I've been on one audition my whole life, and so that's kind of how that started. But the one thing that I thought was interesting about, you know, how adjusting your style is that when you're doing fight scenes for movies and stuff, the camera angles tell a lot, or they do a lot. So, like, for example, if I throw a punch at his face, I'm not anywhere near his face, you know what I mean? But the camera, the way they have it behind you, makes it look like you hit him, you know? So that was kind of weird for me to kind of not have to be so close to somebody when you throw your kicks and punches, but when they put it on film, it looks like you really hit them. So that was kind of an interesting thing for me to have to adjust to not have to be so close when you're throwing your techniques and stuff.
Did you hit a few people in the beginning?
I accidentally hit a few people, yeah. I remember when we did the movie, the Power Ranger movie in Australia, one of the guys, I threw a flying sidekick, and you know, when you're fighting in plain clothes, you know, sometimes, you know, your outfit is, you know, I have these big combat boots, these heavy Doc Martens on, you know, and so as I'm flying through the air, I couldn't stop it fast enough. I hit one of the stunt guys right in the face and busted up his lip, and I felt pretty bad about that. So yeah, so it happens.
They're like, no, the camera's here.
Yeah,
you
right.
can throw the kick over here. You don't have to
exactly.
kick in the face.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to stop. You know, when you're doing take after take after take, and you get tired and stuff. So these guys probably know even more about that than me. But yeah, that was one thing I thought was interesting about adjusting your style for a camera.
Perfect. Now let's talk about behind the scenes. You guys mentioned, you know, making the adjustment, the camera angles and focus and so forth. Let's talk about fight choreography. How much time do you get to rehearse? Like today, ever since basically The Matrix, actually before The Matrix, what happened is Jackie Chan came over. A lot of his films from Hong Kong was playing, and everyone knew that Jackie Chan was doing his own stunts. So when they brought The Matrix around in 1998, they decided, you know what, we're going to bring Wu Ping in, and we're going to get our actors to do their own stunts. So they got Wu Ping to bring his team, and they got Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne, all to train for a year to do this. Now, mind you, if you guys look at the behind the scenes, they were jacked up. Jacked up because as a lay person trying to do something this physical as you've never done before, where your body's not prepared for all the motions, the movements, and stuff like that, you know, it's not an easy task. That's why today, a lot of the, quote, action actors train for about 8 months under the tutelage of a master that they bring on set. So when it's time to do the fight choreography, how much time do you guys, as seasoned martial artists, take to practice for your scenes? Because obviously you guys don't have to go away for 8 months for pre-production to train. So how much time do you guys get to do the fight choreography and so forth? And do you do it with the stunt team first, or you do it with the actual people you're going to be fighting on screen?
For Phantom Menace, I got to, we were rehearsing for a few months before we actually got to do principal photography, which was great. I got to work with the stunt team. And so I was very active in that, and it was fun to actually play a character, because I was always thinking of my character being someone else, and the guys had to say, Ray, you're playing this character, because I didn't know how much I'm allowed to sort of express, hey, can I do this, can I do that, and they were really good about it. And then, of course, I preferred working with the stunt team first, because they're martial artists, they're stunt guys, and then when I got to work with the actors, it brought in a different dimension of dynamic, because we weren't just doing beat for beat, we were actually performing and acting as if we were going to do the fight scene for real. So I got to sort of really enhance my character, and because they're in character when we're rehearsing, so I got to, rather than just sort of be very emotionless and go through the moves and make it, because sometimes in Wushu you have to not show pain and not show fear or not show anger, it's just, it's called the spirit, the empty glaze, you know, you're doing the form. So I was very much like in the beginning, so I got to sort of, you know, play a little bit, act, sort of pretend. And so it was a few months for that, which was great. And with that is, once the fights are locked down and the director says, yeah, great, you sort of come up with newer ideas. You know, the fights become basic. They become more simplified, whereas the beginning they were awesome, and then you start having more like fantastic ideas, but you can't use them, you know, because of lockdown for all the other actors. And then I've had other movies where it's a week or a day, and you don't really get to show everything you can do, so you just focus on your acting, you know? And there's been times where I just really want to just let loose and just go all out Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, and then it's like focus on what's happening, because we're working with other actors who may have done a little bit of action, and you don't want to seem like you're coming in and going, whoa, let's do this, whoa, you know? But when The Matrix came out, before that came out, and I just said, you know, got into the business, Phantom Menace came out, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm the guy who can do it. I thought it was an opening, you know, I want to be Bruce Lee, I want to be Jackie Chan, I want to do stunts, I want to act, I want to do it all. And it's sort of like, okay, we can train our actors now, you know, so it's like, I was like, what about me? So it was like, okay, I can do it. It's like you're reading scripts or the breakdowns of things, and you're like, okay, I can do that. But now it's like possible to have anyone, no, not anyone, but to train someone up with a good team, which is great. I think it's awesome. But I wanted to just do real martial art movies, you know, that's all I wasn't, you know, I'm grateful for all the things that I've done, but I just wanted to get in there, take my top off, and, you know, do a Bruce Lee movie, you know? Do a Jackie Chan movie, so yeah, I'm still waiting for that moment where I can just try and rock a six-pack, you know? But not today, though.
Just carry a six-pack now.
You're gonna get more fans out there if you do it right now. Anyway.
That'll be a one-pack.
Question again, I'm sorry.
The fight choreography, how much time did you have to train?
Oh, yeah. Like I said before, you know, they were having me focus more on the acting, but as I got more into it, I did some stunt work in Los Angeles with Miami Vice Stunt Show, which was a live audience. Like, it would be a big, like this, and we'd have a whole show, a live show. And, you know, I think with, you know, where I'm at right now is, I kind of, University, yeah. Okay. I kind of did a hiatus, you know, from Hollywood. I got, you know, it got too heady for me, and I didn't feel it was a natural, organic process in Hollywood. So I started doing a lot of theater where I can work on more of my acting, and just, it was more simple. And so where I'm at now is getting back into the films. And creatively, I've matured a lot. So somewhat like Ray is talking about is your spirit. So when you get to a certain point, you know, as a creative person, you realize that, you know, when you weren't mature, you were just trying to be a certain way that was like more, I'm going to act this way. As you mature, you realize it's your spirit. You don't have to act. That you know, somewhat like Bruce Lee. You know, Bruce Lee was expressing himself. So, as a mature actor, as a mature martial artist, I'm looking forward to showing you guys more, because my spirit will come through my movement. You know, so when I like, for example, I have a meeting next month with about a short action film, and I have a choreographers meeting. So, you sit with the choreographers and you're basically going over, well, what kind of style do you want to show? Do you want to show more kicks? And then it depends on what your abilities are, what your experiences are. Like, I can't do the full twist in the air like Ray does, So I'm gonna tell them the type of style I want. Then you have to get with the different stunt guys, the different guys that you're gonna actually make contact with and fight and film. And there's a comfort level you have to have with them. You move, after the choreographer's meeting, you actually get to move with them a little bit and gain a lot of trust that, because some of these kicks can come by you, like, Steven said, the camera's there, it doesn't have to come close, but maybe sometimes it gets a little too close.
Right.
And maybe it's one of those kicks that can knock you off your feet, So there's that time that you might spend doing that. It could take a day to get comfortable, it could take a week, depends. But that's basically, you get to say what style you want to do, then if you have that ability, that power in the film, then you work with the stunt team, and then you fulfill it. So it could take anywhere from a day to get comfortable, another few days to choreograph it, and then depends how long the scene is.
Yeah. Now on the Power Rangers set, you guys were turning it out like GM.
Yeah, I mean, it was a show that came on every day, so, we'd have like maybe 4 or 5 days to shoot one 30-minute episode. And so we didn't have the luxury of, getting a lot of time to rehearse with the stunt team. But the thing is that we were really cohesive, so we all knew each other. And so even though we didn't have the time to rehearse a bunch of fight scenes, a long time to rehearse the fight scenes, we knew each other so well that we could actually show up in the morning, take about 15 minutes to talk about what we wanted to do for that fight scene, and crank it out, and then we'd be done for the day. It would take a few hours to do the scene, but we would have maybe like 15 minutes to rehearse. So now, the difference is with the movie, they took their time, because everything in the TV show is very fast paced. It's like, set up, break down, boom, 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 boom. But with the movie, we take like 30 takes on everything. So, and they had it was a big budget, so they had more time, and we had a lot more time to rehearse. And so that was actually kind of nice to do that. I would prefer it that way, but we didn't have that luxury on the TV show.
Thanks. Now I'm going to bring the audience in, but I have a question for the audience. Who knows what style of martial arts in Sherlock Holmes? Raise your hand. Person. Are you raising your hand? Oh, I'm sorry, the movie Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. Thank you. What style martial arts?
Firefighting.
Fortetsu,
I thought.
No. Huh?
Was that still at?
No. Okay. That's what I'm saying. See, when the untrained eye, you don't know. Robert Downey Jr. is a student of the Wing Chun style, which is Bruce Lee's original style, Wing Chun.
Wing Chun.
Yeah, Wing Chun style. And he actually is doing Wing Chun in there. His instructor is one of William Chun's students. William Chun is who brought Bruce Lee to Yip Man back in the early days. So he actually does Wing Chun. And in fact, he does Wing Chun in all of his films. He also does it in Iron Man as well. If you guys seen those dummies? Yeah. So these are little inside things. But who has a question? Somebody raise their hand.
Say one thing if I can too. About the Sherlock Holmes, you'll probably notice there's a little bit of jiu-jitsu in there as well too.
Yeah.
The director, Guy Ritchie, is a brown belt in Brazilian
I didn't tell you.
Yeah,
I brought Guy Ritchie to his first class of jiu-jitsu.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Because he
I
trained with
choreographed.
Gracie in New York, and then he comes to LA and trains with us all.
Right. I brought him. I choreographed Madonna in a Drowned World tour. She did fight scene. So it was called Sky Fits Heaven. So I choreographed this whole number, and he came to watch me work with Madonna, and it was at the Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, okay,
Marcos
right,
Vinicius. So he ended up being a student. Now he's a brown belt.
Yeah.
Audience, who has a question? The closest young lady?
Yeah, my question is, you mentioned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
We're also a little familiar with capoeira.
Oh, okay.
And what is the difference? What is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as opposed to traditional Jiu-Jitsu or Is that jiu-jitsu mixed with capoeira, or what is it?
Right. No, that's a good question. Yeah, no, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, capoeira is more like, a dance, like a dance style almost, it's more stand-up. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is solely groundwork, like it's all ground fighting. You kind of like get the person to the ground and control them there as opposed to using any punches or kicks. So that's the difference. And as far as like the difference between like Japanese Jiu-Jitsu and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is that there's a family in Brazil called the Gracie family, and they were the ones that they learned from a Japanese like ambassador that was trying to start a Japanese like colony over in Brazil, and their father had helped him get it started. So as a gift, he taught his sons jiu-jitsu, and then these sons kind of took it and sort of like added a few things and kind of like said, well, how can we modify this to work for the street a little bit? Because growing up in the streets of Brazil, it was kind of rough. So they started modifying it because they were smaller. And the fact that, you're smaller, how are you going to defend yourself against these bigger guys using some of these techniques? So that's kind of how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu evolved. And it's quite different from capoeira because capoeira is a lot very acrobatic and a lot of kicks and punches and things like that, whereas Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is straight like ground technique.
Also, you guys don't know that Judo and Jiu-Jitsu were one school. They separated it for the purposes of sport. So the throws as well as the joint locks, they were all part of the same style. Who else had a question?
Jiu-Jitsu would be too lethal.
Gentleman in the blue.
Yeah, my question was that if you guys had a chance to do another martial art film, what martial art star would you guys would like to work with?
Good question.
Come on. Come on.
Well, afterwards we're going to go and I'm going to be a student, I'm going to learn.
Yeah, he's actually going to come to my school next month. He's going to come train with me, yeah. And Ray one time, I keep inviting him. I'm doing a show too. Yeah.
It's just, I also like to be fit enough to turn up to whenever, but the best thing to do is to
If you're
turn
not
up.
being more fit, you're going to spend the rest of your life. You're
I know,
already
exactly.
If he's not fit, who's fit, right?
Thank you. It's nice to be up here with these guys. They're awesome, truly awesome. When I was younger, I wanted to do capoeira purely because it really interested me for film, fantasy, dancing and movement, one-handed, and plus I wanted to break. When I was 8 years old, I had the cardboard, breakdance was my movie, Turbo and Mozart.
Yes, indeed.
Break spinning,
Electric Boogaloo.
all of that. I was like,
Who do you want to work with as a martial artist, though? That's what they would do.
no, he was asking about styles. Wasn't it? What styles I wanted to do?
No, what star?
Star.
Yeah, what star? Yeah, what star would you like to do a film with?
That's why I'd rather you guys
Sorry, I
work
missed.
together.
I want to work with these guys.
Yeah, me too.
I thought you said styles. Sorry. That's why I was into the whole capoeira thing.
Gentleman in the red.
I have a question. Was there ever a stunt that you guys ever performed that was a little too dangerous for you guys?
Ooh, I'm sure you've had, like, I mean, I've had some. You want to go back?
You go.
I did a character that didn't have any dialogue, but he was the main bad guy in First Watch, was it? NBC show. It was about the fireman. It's on there right now.
Third Watch.
Third Watch, right. I played a character in Spider. Basically, it was an honest character that was murdering people. They were finding people dead. And then they cornered me in a huge school bus lots. There's all these school buses. And they had what do you call when you walk up steps to get to like these big trailer offices?
Yeah.
So there's all these steps as high as the buses that were lined up over there. So at that point, I wanted to get more work and be out there more, so I took on the job, and I was being a little too humble, meaning the stunt they had me do was very dangerous, but I didn't say anything because I just wanted to, I thought I could do it, but it was dangerous. What it was is, and I never shot machine gun blanks with more than one gun. I did machine gun blanks with one. But they say, okay, you come out, you're gonna blazing, shooting these cops, and you're gonna come out crazy like this. Nobody probably recognized I had a goatee and long ponytail anyway. I looked a little like you. So then So they were shooting up the trailer, I come blazing, shooting out, and had to jump onto the bus. But it was a lot of, what do you call it? It was rainy. It was what do you call it? When there's like mist. Mildew. There was a lot of dew all over the top. So I realized that, so I jumped, but I went squatted. So then I came up with shots. So again, you had to apply technique. And then you had to jump to the next bus. But thank God, two things. I could have shot my own leg off with these blanks, because as you know, as you may not know, it shoots out a little bit of a, it's very powerful. So that was one of the most dangerous stunts. It was funny.
Sure.
Skydiving in the movie, the Power Ranger movie, we were skydiving in the beginning. That was not us. They wouldn't let us do it because they didn't want us to get dead. That would have put a damper on the production. So we didn't do that. And then there was one scene where they had us had me hanging from a wire where I had to tumble off of a cliff. And then they had a wire to me, and then I was supposed to be able to catch the rock and then dangle from this cliff, and that was a little freaky for me. So I said, I don't want to do it. So I let somebody else do that one for me, because we had the ninja mask on anyway, so they couldn't see my face. So I let one of those guys do that one. But I was a little worried about that one, because that wire seemed really thin, so I was a little worried about it. So,
I think the producer goes to the stunt coordinator. It wouldn't hurt to ask him. The stunt coordinator usually are nice guys. They're like, well, I don't know. Just ask him. And then they know that the actor or some person will always say yes. Or almost always.
Yeah. Well, I got up there and I got all wired up.
So they have to, otherwise another guy's going to say yes. And will you jump off that building? Well, is there any mats there? Yeah, I'll jump.
Well, I got all wired up and everything, but once I got up there, I kind of freaked out. So I was like, I have an aversion to heights, So.
I had a similar experience with wire work. I was on Rise of Cobra, G.I.Joe, and I was like, I can do this, it's easy. So they pulled me up about 80 feet up, and it's a scene when Snake Eyes comes out of the howler, and there's the Hulk, and I was like, this is a piece of cake, I can do this. And it was, I wanted to be iconic, but I wanted to take out and blind shoot someone, and then shoot from head, be very snaky, because I grew up with Snake Eyes. And as they're pulling me up, I rehearsed it, was good, it was bright lights, it was okay, a little nervous, but it was a lot higher for the take. So they pulled me up through these trees, and I'm really super high. And as they're pulling me up for the first time, I think I wet my pants. Wait a minute, these are really thin wires. Was that nice to the stunt guys?
Yeah, right.
And I remember thinking, no, I trust the wire. And so I'm up there hanging, and it was really high, and I was like, okay, all right, cool. It was a moment of thought of, this could snap on me, or that this could happen, that could happen. But I trusted everyone, and everything was fine. And it was also a buzz, it was a thrill at the same time. And I remember I had to shoot a 9mm gun, and I did some training with that, and they were like, well, you don't want to shoot your leg, and the whole thing was keeping the gun in my holster as I was getting up, because you're upside down, and I had to have it buttoned in order to stay upside down. But once I landed, because one landing put out, I wanted to be able to get it out, and I was blind because you couldn't see through the mask. It was dark. It was at night. And I wanted to be real quick, so I had to practice repetition. And this was one of the times I was really pumped up, and I shot my leg.
Oh my!
And they were like, whatever you do, you don't want to shoot yourself with a blank. And all I feel is a coldness all the way down my leg.
Wow!
All the way down. And there's a tingle, and I was like, oh good. I carried on. And got it, but it was like a bang! And I was so embarrassed at the fact, because in martial arts it's repetition, right. perfection. And you didn't want to be that guy that hit someone else in the fight choreography, but it happened, mistakes. And I shot my leg. So I had to make a joke out of it, but at the same time I felt really goofy that I did it, but it sort of brought things back to reality, because I was worried about, I was upside down, excited, but worried about getting the sword out in time and then shooting my leg.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that go into your mind when you can breathe. You're like, why did I say yes to this again? Oh yeah, because I want to do it.
Right. Now, real quick, we're gonna wrap this up. But number one, where can we find you? What's next for everybody?
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm coming back out right now, so I'm working on some things, and I will definitely be on my Facebook letting you know right away. But there is a 30th anniversary that actually Demetrius has a wonderful independent action film festival that I was taking part with last year that he's doing again this year. And November 8th, as I've told some of you people, we're having a 30th anniversary of The Last Dragon, screening in a huge movie theater in Times Square. So, you know, you could always find out from
Your fan page?
My fan page is facebook.com/IamTaimak, AIMTAIMAK. So it comes to the 30th anniversary, there's going to be after party, and it's going to be contests and everything. Yeah.
You can follow me on Facebook. Keep you posted on that. With things, Power Rangers are coming out with the 20-year reboot for Power Rangers is coming out, and Lionsgate's going to be doing it. So I'm hoping for a cameo. So we'll see what happens with that. I kind of put the word out there to the people at Lionsgate to be in that, so that hopefully that might happen. And also to the new season of Rangers is Dino Charge. So since I started out with dinosaurs in the show, so hopefully they'll have me back for a season or for part of the season and that as well too. So you can kind of look out for that. I'll keep everybody posted on Facebook. You can follow me at Steve Cardenas fan page.
Right.
On Facebook.
For me, I hope to sort of, play Snake Eyes again if you ever get to do a G.I.Joe 3, because he's my childhood character, and of course, play Maul again because of new Star Wars. But I'd love to just be able to.
Origin story.
Maybe, yeah. I'd love to just be able to do like a martial art movie that I grew up with. You know, like to what I got, why I went
Power
into
Rangers?
Power Rangers.
I'll be the new Red Ranger.
My son loves it. I've been watching it on Netflix, all of the Power Rangers, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I met them. I know those guys, I'm cool. And my son, he's 6, and so it's great to sort of share that with him. Anything, but also to go back to my roots of traditional martial arts. I would like to do an old school martial art movie in a modern take to show, you know, because I love all the classical. Hey. I love it. And then I can get to the sound effects as well. And, so there's nothing coming up. I'm just, I want to be an American Ninja fit. That's what I want to be. I want to be able to do the course once.
If some of you old people know American Ninja, he'd be a great. You have to change his accent, but he's an actor.
All right, we have to wrap up, guys. Where can we find you, Ray?
At the conventions at the moment. You know?
Well,
So
online.
my website's down at the moment, but it's raypark.com, and I've been talking about it for a couple of years now, but I want to do it's the art, the butterfly, the art, the 360. It's called Tower Butterfly. And then for those who want to learn, you know, it was always a big mystery when I was growing up because not a lot of people did it. So I sort of learned and taught and broke it down, and so just to help anyone. So I have some videos and stuff. I want to do more about martial arts and fitness on my website, as well as talk about movies as well.
Well, let's give everyone a round of applause. One more time, Ray Park, Taimak, Steve Cardenas, and I want to personally thank Frank Pass, the founder of Eternal Con, for having us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.